Top of the morning. Tip of the top, cream of the crop. It's Mary Poppins, and then we stop. Ha ha ha. Hello, hello, hello. Is anybody here? Is anybody here? I hope somebody's here. I'm 10 minutes late. I am 10 minutes late because I was stuck on the potty. You wanted to know? I just told you. Deal. Okay. Please come back. Please come back. Don't leave me here all alone. On the internet with no friends. It's so sad. Play ad. Go live. I'm looking for the link. Buenos nachos to you too. I have no idea where the link is for the regular page for this. Stream optimization, monetization cards. Oh, here we go. Facebook. Hello, hello. Oh, we got 4 people tuned in. Yes, here we go. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Gmail. I keep forgetting my passwords for everything. And now I've got to reset my password. Okay. Switch back. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, smoky. Just, ow, my back. Oh, back, oh. My back just back spasmed and, oh. Okay, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? I was just posting information on Facebook and Twitter. You know, I'm live streaming, and I had to bounce back and forth and change the passwords because I forgot the passwords on something and crap like that. Anyway, ooh, ow. Okay. More shenanigans on FimFiction. They still have not approved my latest story, and I've gotten 2 reviews back, and they're saying my story, you know, is plagiarism. Basically, they basically accuse me of plagiarism. And everybody that's read the story, other than these admins, is calling shenanigans. It's not 2 days after somebody else plagiarized one of my stories, almost word for word, and got it posted within the hour. And now I'm being accused of plagiarism. I'm like, Oh yeah, they're on the ball. Playing games. Pardon. It's more the usual personal politics BS that goes on. Joints in my hands are kind of hurting. Alright. Let's see. Oh, of course it's not shenanigans. I mean, it's stupid. It's really stupid, okay? I know one of the one of the admins is also an editor for Equestria Daily, and I'm like, oh boy. These people are like Humpty Dumpty from Through the Looking Glass. You know, a word means whatever they want to. They just pay it extra for when they make it mean more than one thing. Yeah, it's nonsense. All I can guess is that Gap Jaxie's somebody's extra special little friend, and for some reason that just he's all tore up because I wrote a take on his story, and now his big brother is gonna show me a lesson. Or it could just be the obvious fact that the premise of the story was very Red Scare-ish. Now, you recall back in the 50s and 60s, McCarthy came out and said that our government had been infiltrated by Soviet spies. And he came out and he had a list of people who were aligned with or members of the Communist Party, and who were also connected to the Soviet Union. And he came out and said these people are a threat to our national security. And the liberal elite of the time closed ranks and counterattacked him, and he has had his name smeared ever since. His name has literally become a dirty word in politics. You know, if you want to accuse somebody of witch hunt, you used to call, say they're trying to pull McCarthyism. The thing of it is that after the collapse of the Soviet Union near the end of the 20th century, we got our meat hooks on a few tons of KGB documentation that showed not only was he right, the people on his list were active members of the Communist Party. They had connections to the Soviet Union, and they were pumping Soviet communist propaganda into the country in one direction, and pumping United States military secrets and government information out of the country and into the Soviet Union. They were traitors. They were a threat to national security. And you can rest assured that the breach of faith that these people committed resulted people getting killed because their cover was blown, or because these traitors revealed the location of escapees who had come to America and were in hiding, and this kind of thing. You know for a fact that people died because of these traitors, but it's McCarthy who's the villain. Liberals are shitbags. Anyway, this story premise was that it's supposed to be just after the wedding and after the change in the invasion, that day. They're still sweeping up the litter from the wedding, and Fluttershy gets upset because Twilight's talking about what we have to do to prepare for the changeling. We have to track them down. We have to find what's going on. And she says, well, what if I was a changeling? And the original story, it breaks down to where she, naturally browbeats Twilight, guilting her for, responding to an actual threat to their nation. You can't judge them all by just because of the acts of a few. You don't know that, And what if I was a changeling? And then she refuses to say whether she's a changeling or not, just to be a dick about it. You know, the usual routine. And you know, it ends with her, you know, it ends with her with, you know, the ambiguity: is she or isn't she a changeling? And, you know, aren't you a horrible person for thinking it matters? Well, I wrote another version of it called "Yes, It Matters," where Twilight points out, first of all, they have just been yes, you do judge groups by the behavior of the first large group you meet. You know, and she points out, you know, the survey is in. Out of 1,000 changelings, 1,000 of them want to wrap everybody in Canterlot in cocoons and suck their faces off. And she points out that if Fluttershy is a changeling, even though she wasn't, you know, even though she might not have been working with Chrysalis, she basically committed a pretty dick move anyway, because she had, before, during, and after the battle, had not, you know, supposing that Fluttershy was a changeling, and she had not told her friends any information she had about changelings, what they were, how their powers worked, what they wanted, who they were associated with, how to recognize them. Anything she could have told them could have meant the difference between life and death for everybody in Canterlot. And so, yes, it would matter, because she had not come forward and warned her friends. And so, yes, it did matter. And that, because of that, you know, if Fluttershy was a changeling, all her friends were going to have to learn to trust her all over again. They were going to, you know, at the very best, they were going to have to go back to square one. I get tired of this, you know, it's not the majority. It doesn't have to be the majority, okay? The Nazi Party was a minority in Germany, and still they slaughtered 11 million people. And if during World War II you met a German out on the road in Europe, you were a frickin' moron. If you just, oh, well, we don't know that he's really a member of the army or a part of the Nazi Party. He could just be one of those nice little sour button, you know, kraut-eating Germans, and we should just let him go, you know. No, it doesn't work like that. You know, one of the things that people who spout that, you know, the right to remain silent, most people don't realize this. The right to remain silent is so that you do not incriminate yourself. But the law still has a right to demand that you identify yourself. And identify yourself correctly. Most people don't realize that. Yes, they have a right to demand your name and other basic information. Even in times of war, you have to give them your name, rank, and serial number. Hello, ring ring. Well, anyway, I post this story, and I think that the reason that some of them are banned because the parallels to what we're dealing with in real life are just a little too obvious. I'm sorry, we are being, we are infiltrated, surrounded, and we are being overrun by Islamics, by Muslims. And they are going out of their way. They are out there harassing people legally. They're out there throwing temper tantrums because somebody posted a picture of bacon on a billboard. Everybody in America is being forced to walk on tippy-toe around Muslims. More and more and more. Even when it's suicidally, when it's suicidally stupid. Like these women, they come in a burqa and refuse to take the hood off when they get their driver's license photograph taken. This kind of craziness. Our airport security is a joke because they have to pretend that a 40-year-old German granny is the same kind of menace level as a ululating 21-year-old Muslim. We are expected to, that's profiling. That's profiling. No, that's a description of the suspect. Every single terrorist attack on America over the past 20 years has been by Muslims. Not just merely Muslims, but Muslim males between their mid-20s, between their mid-teens to their mid-20s, of Middle Eastern descent. That is not profiling. That's called a description of the suspect. And as I have said this before, you're not being prejudiced against the handicapped, or you're not being prejudiced against amputees if you go looking for the one-armed man. I am in the usual position of how dare you. I'm in the usual position of everybody getting a moral high dudgeon because, how dare you say what is as obvious as the noses on our faces. Every one of these stupid mofos is going to wake up one morning and the last thing in this world they're going to see is some shrieking Islamic fanatic swinging a machete down on their neck, pulling the trigger on a gun, or hitting the dead man switch on the C4 wrapped around their middle, and their last thought that goes through their minds is, why did this happen to me? I was nice to them. I just don't know what went wrong. Does this sound bitter? Because it is. We're in the same situation right now. We have got militant Islamic. That's redundant. There's two kinds of Muslims, okay? The militant ones and the ones that are warming on the bench waiting for their turn to be militant. Every last one of the terrorist attacks has been prefaced by, but they were such nice young men. Quiet, minded their own business, didn't give anybody any trouble. I've seen footage, documentary. There's a man. He's converted to Christianity from Islam. He was trained from the age of 12 on up and sent to America. His job was to infiltrate the Bible Belt and recruit converts to Islam. And his job was to undermine the local culture in any way he could, by, with the usual tactics of, oh, they're offending our culture by, cooking bacon for their breakfast, kind of thing. Throwing temper tantrums about Pepe the Pig, that kind of thing. Demanding halal meals in prison, any way he could. And he admits it. He was an infiltrator. That was his job. This has been the tactic of Islam for the past 1400 years. It has not changed in the least. They have not been, have not been, and never will be a religion of peace. And as a society, we have a right. You can't judge them by their appearance. Yes, you can. That's how you do it. You don't judge a book by its cover. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's exactly how you judge. You go to a bookstore, there's a reason they pay thousands of dollars to an artist to paint a picture on the cover. Because you judge a book by its cover, what it says on the cover. The title on the cover, the picture on the cover. The author's name on the cover. That's how real life works. You don't need to know somebody's autobiography if they come out and say, "Hi, I belong to a homicidal murder cult." We're perfectly fine with raping 9-year-olds, but you'd better not cook any bacon in our house. The majority of Muslims aren't out there doing suicide, right? The majority of Nazis were not out there killing Jews themselves either. The majority of Klansmen aren't marching in the streets in white sheets. But they've declared their allegiance. And I'm wondering what it's going to take to get people to believe what these people have been telling them straight to their faces. Behead those who, behead those who insult Islam. Death to America. I'm just curious. Oh, they don't really mean it. The quiet ones are the infiltrators. They use our alleged tolerance against us. You met one of these little a-holes on the playground when you were a kid. They'd break every rule in the book. No matter what game you were playing, they'd sneak and try and cheat, and they'd take cheap shots at people. And then when the tables were turned, the rules say, you can't do that. You can't. No, that's no fair. First of all, the rules don't say. There's nowhere that the rules say that we cannot demand to know what they're up to. There is no rule anywhere that says we can't judge them by the allegiances that they have proclaimed out loud. I don't believe in stoning our daughters to death for being raped. I just agree with the religion that promotes it. I'm just a member of the religion that does it. That's precisely why they don't like that story, because it cuts past a lot of the BS about how, how it would be unjust to search for traitors amongst us. How bucking nuts is that? Oh no, you can't go looking for spies and saboteurs. That would be unethical. Why? Why would that be unethical? Explain to me how that is more unethical than actually being a spy or saboteur in the first place. They want to pretend that nothing has changed, that we are not on a war footing with an enemy. And anything that comes too close, that edges up on bursting that little delusional bubble, is the enemy and must be stopped. My unending question is, how much longer do we have to play silly-ass games listening to these idiots? I'm just, you'll have to excuse me. I am in a state of frustration. I'm just aggravated. I'm so aggravated. I'm so frustrated. Just every time I turn the news on, it's more stupidity. It's more suicide. I'm just sick of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe I should make a link to Patreon. half the reason I still use Firefox, because Firefox has got all my links in it. That's a better idea. I really am. I'm tired of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm tired. It's like living in a room full of people who are inflating balloons. And you can see the stretch marks on the balloons, and they're still puffing away as hard as they can go. And you're surrounded by them, and you don't know which one's going to burst first, you know? Come back and just crumbled pieces. I'm waiting for the dollar to finally implode. I expect it to go like the German mark. It's that bad out there. I'm sitting here waiting for the next big Islamic terror attack. The idea, you know, the only thing worse than knowing that there's, you know, thinking that we might go out and, you know, there might be a catastrophe is thinking that we might just go out like a boiled frog. Never any one critical point. We just cook to death in our own juices. Never realizing until it's too late that we should have started running back 5 points ago. I'm waiting for a natural catastrophe. They've been predicting the next major earthquake for years. We are overdue by a decade for a major earthquake on the East Coast. Yes, we do have a fault line that runs we've had tremors in my lifetime, from Ohio down to Florida, and they are, their estimation is that we are overdue. They are overdue for another big one over on the West Coast. They are overdue, by God only knows how long, for another eruption of the supervolcano under Yellowstone. It is just dozens and dozens of time bombs scattered all over the globe. We are prepared for warming, and they're all sorts of prepared for something that's not going to happen, but something that is on the charts and getting more likely by the day. Not a single bit of preparation. We have no backup for our national electric grid. We have no plan for when the dollar collapses. We have no plan for the next major terrorist organization, except more surrendering, more oppression of actual American citizens and more surrender to the Muslims. We have no plan. Nobody's, we are not prepared for anything that matters as a nation. Everybody makes fun. I don't, the Mormons, I've got no use for the Church of Latter-day Saints. No, it's a cult. It has been, it always will be. It is a cult and a heresy, and it was the equivalent of Scientology of the 19th century. That's essentially what it was. It was just a cult started by a couple of hucksters who were looking to get as much money and pootie-tang as they could, just like every other cult leader. And you can throw a scream. And if you're a Mormon, you can go ahead and throw a screaming tantrum at me. I don't care. But the Mormons at least, I've always admired it. They believe in being prepared. What does it tell you that the only people who are prepared in this country for a calamity are the ones who are considered, the ones who not only are considered nuts and flakes, but actually are kind of on the grape nut side of the spectrum. Okay. Look, the Mormons have a standard. You have to have a year's supply of everything, from food to medicine to soap, for every member of your household. It's not that hard to get that prepared. You can get you can order for something like $5. You can get something. It's the size of a pallet, of a single shipping pallet, that will hold enough shelf-safe and dried food to last a family of 4 for a year. And it all fits in a little pallet-sized cube. And you can order that online for like I think last price I saw was like $500, $400 or $500. You could stick that in your garage and be done. Voila! You're better prepared than everybody else in your neighborhood. So long as you don't tell them where it is. But the Mormons, you can go online. They have these online calculators that let you know how many people, where do you live, blah blah blah, and it shows you how many pounds of flour and cornmeal and beans and canned thises and bars of soap and coffee and even little things like luxuries, like little candies and things. And it's very nice. And I'm like, thumbs up, So let's give the Mormons credit where credit is due. Their theology came in on a flying saucer, but when it comes to real world pragmatism and preparation, they are better off than the majority. Think about it. Everybody makes fun of these doomsday. You remember the TV show Doomsday Preppers? where they were going around and people would analyze how well they were prepared. Some of the people that they had on, I was very impressed with. I was very impressed with them, and some of them I would have liked to have emulated. Very admirable people, some of them, with their attitudes and their philosophy and the way they went about it. And I'm like, the Doomsday Prepper show sort of missed an entire demographic of people who are, at all times, literally prepared for a year-long catastrophe. And nobody notices, because the most that most people notice about Mormons is that they go out in suits, in white shirts and ties and suspenders and bicycle and duets from door to door. But there you have it. The church has never been very good about being prepared for the material future. Looking at the New Testament church. You'll remember if you read about it. It says in the early chapters, it talks about how they sold all their belongings and put all the money together in one big communal pile and gave it out to each member as it was needed. And all the socialists are going, yay! And reality is going, no. Because they're missing a point. First of all, nobody was forced to do this. Second of all, the reason they did this is because the people in the church at that time believed that when Christ said, I am returning soon, they thought he meant, like, next week. And third, the result was a catastrophe, because the Church of Jerusalem, they sold everything they owned, they piled all their money together, and then they ran out. And they didn't have any businesses, they didn't have any jobs, they didn't have any money. And the other churches scattered throughout the Mediterranean area, they were sending charity help back to Jerusalem, because they run out of money. They didn't have anything. They were paupers. It was a disaster, because they thought they weren't going to have to prepare for the immediate future, or even the long future, or even the immediate future. And back when we were looking down the barrel of Y2K, and there was legitimate reason to be seriously concerned about this. My dad was like, oh, no. This won't make anything. I can prove it. And he talks about how he sat down in front of his desktop computer, cranked the calculator forward, the calendar forward to 2001. See, nothing happened. And I tried to explain to him, no, Dad, that's not the problem. The problem is not with your little laptop or desktop computer, okay? It was with thousands of computers that were decades out of date and had a fundamental glitch in them that would throw things, half-assed down the hill, ass over tea kettle. And I couldn't get that through to him. And of course, they went around. They spent the year leading up to 2000 fixing that. They spent the first couple of years before that fixing stuff, pulling out old computers, putting in new computers, pulling out old computer chips, putting in new computer chips. Even then, there were some incidences. A couple of problems with a bank in Germany. A DMV department in one state that issued licenses for cars that were supposedly made in the 1900s. just weird stuff like that. But yes, the society prepared. But anybody who was concerned, and think about it, it wasn't just Y2K. It wasn't just the computer thing, which would have been a big enough problem. you were looking down the barrel of the Y2K, and a good chance that there were some group of Fruit Loops out there, like, oh, I don't know, fanatical Islamic radicals, who might have decided it is the year 2000, the sign of the times. It is time to kaboom everything, you know. Silence, I kill you, you know. This is what we were looking at. And yeah, I took the point of doing a little preparation myself. I got my grandfather's shotgun, and had it moved to my apartment. And I purchased some food and supplies and stuff. There were people out there who called themselves, you know, Christian magazines and preachers and stuff, who were chastising other Christians for not having faith enough in Jesus, because they were preparing for a possible storm. If I could reach through time and space to smack these people, I would. Just, you know, faith in Jesus. I hate to break it to you, but Jesus never promised that it was going to be smooth sailings. In fact, he said it was going to be terrible, perilous times. And he told his followers to be prepared, to go out and prepare themselves. He told them to go out and buy swords. And he said, if you haven't got a sword, sell your cloak. Buy one. You will need it. Got too many Christians nowadays who think that the rapture, you know, that Jesus is going to come along and rapture everybody out before everything gets too bad. I bet you there were a lot of Christians who died in the Holocaust camps in Germany who were wondering, you know, where's Jesus in his big old aeroplane? Prepare. Boast not thyself of tomorrow cuts both ways. Here's another one for you to worry about. Import-export. Just for an experiment to see. Now, in the New York harbors, most of America's, you know, incoming trade, you know, he goes through the New York harbors and harbors in San Francisco. You know, the New York harbors, billions of dollars of goods, especially perishables, go through the New York harbors, and it's all computerized, and it's wheezing along with an outdated computer system. But they, you know, they have a computer system at least. Back before Y2K, they conducted a test run. They wanted to see how long they could, you know, how well they could keep up doing it with the old paper and file, you know, hand process, manual process. And they shut off the computers, and in less than 2 hours, they fell something like 2 years behind in the paperwork. I forget whether, I correct that, I forget whether it was 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, but basically an hour was enough to put them monstrously behind, because there was no way on earth that they could handle the traffic flow. I want you to think about that. Those computers blow out. Those harbors are full of perishable goods, fruits, vegetables, fish, poultry, meat, you know, medicines, you know, just everything under the sun that can perish in a short time. And it all has to keep moving at lightning speed to get where it needs to go before time runs out. And if those harbors were to be shut down, billions would be lost in hours. Food prices across the country would skyrocket just from those harbors being shut down. That's how serious it is. Pardon. Oof. Oof. I beg pardon for belching in your ear like this much. Eating pudding and Monster energy drink. Right now we are sitting on, we're not just sitting on a powder keg, we're sitting on a dozen of them. I'm aware enough, you know, and I love how people tell me, oh, just have faith in Jesus to get you through. Just have faith in Jesus to get you through. Just have faith in Jesus. I have faith in Jesus to get me through. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm clenching my, my teeth and squinting my eyes shut and sticking my fingers in my ears while somebody runs at the balloon with a knitting needle in their hand, you know? Boom! I've done what I can to prepare myself, but I can only do so much, and quite frankly, if things got really hardcore, I'd be screwed. I'm shafted. I am in physically detrimental state. My physical condition, basically, I'd have little choice but to hunker down here and wait for somebody to rescue me in a truly dire situation. Of course, I have to put faith in God to see me through. Even if I wasn't already inclined to do so, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to have to sit here going, okay, what next? The thing about Doomsday Preppers, the show, each one they talked to had a different, generally they had their own theory as to, what was going to make it all hit the fan. Each group, each family, each individual, what they thought was going to happen and why and how and wherefore and so on and so forth. And after watching 4 or 5 episodes, I was struck by how many different feasible possibilities for catastrophe there actually were. The ridiculous thing is that we've got leaders who are desperately trying to prepare us for the least likely to happen. Global warming, oh my gosh! If we did actually have global warming, there's no proof it would actually be bad. The last time we had an unduly warm period in this planet, they were growing grapes in Scotland. They had open farmland in Iceland and Greenland. Warm weather, an increase in warm weather means a warmer, moister climate, more fertile environment. High carbon dioxide means that the plants will grow better. Global warming would be the best thing that could possibly happen to us. That's the thing of it. You think I'm exaggerating? Everybody has this picture of global warming causing us all to live in this giant desert. No, no, no. What would happen is that more of the water that is frozen in the glaciers and the polar caps would be released to circulate in the water cycle. We would see much more rain. Deserts would bloom. Ice ages are generally they're cold, but they're also dry because the water's getting all frozen on mountain peaks and glaciers and the polar caps and so on and so forth. When the weather warms up is when we get the warm, rainy period. It's not a solid, fast rule. I'm sure there's a lot of little variables that can add to that, you know, hot, cold, wet, dry, you know, so on and so forth. But that is the general rule. We would actually be better off with an ice age, with a global warming period. That's probably why they don't like it so much, is because that would mean a population boom. That's generally what it's been in the past. Unprecedented upswelling and prosperity. With a accompanying boost in population rates. I hate that. Controlling population is one way of controlling, just basically a way of controlling people. Population control, gun control, control. It's not about controlling anything except people. Never has been anything but that. When you have population control, you literally have the world by the short hairs. You literally control. When you control, can you think of anything more invasive and violating of basic human rights and dignity than to control their reproduction? These same people who scream bloody murder, stay out of our bedrooms! They want the government to come in and control what comes out of the bedroom. Like, oh, babies. some reason it's not letting me adjust for, let's see here. For some reason I'm not able to squash or stretch. The fonts. I'm watching a Netflix series, Bitten. Premise is the protagonist is the first female werewolf. No, the first known female werewolf. Premise is that she's a member of a werewolf pack. She is the first female werewolf because human females, basically they can't survive. They normally can't survive the transformation process. But men can, and it's all about her and that clan, there, and their struggle to survive, so on and so forth. Thing of it is, first of all, women cannot survive. You can be born a werewolf, or you can be bitten and become a werewolf if you survive the process. Very few human males survive it, and thus far only one female has ever survived. Which means basically is that the male werewolves have to they go out, they get, in order for their species to continue, they go out, they get human women pregnant, and then kidnap the baby if it turns out to be a male. Because if it's a girl, it'll be, she'll grow up, she'll be a normal human woman. If it's a boy, he always grows up to be a werewolf. And they've been doing it this way for hundreds of years. And, oh, by the way, if a human finds out that they are a werewolf, you know, sees them by accident, whatever, it doesn't matter. They have to be killed. That's pack law. And I kind of want to punch the inventors of the show for that. Because basically it means is that the protagonists, who you are supposed to empathize with as being the heroes of the story, are a literal pack of murderers. There isn't a one of them that hasn't had to kill somebody for quote-unquote accidental, you know, for discovering their secret. It's so freaking stupid. Let's start with the basic. First of all, as if a trail of dead bodies was going to be easier to hide. As if it wouldn't be simpler to induct anyone that saw them into the pack. It also means, you think about it, it means that any of the women who have made the mistake of marrying these men, they don't know that their husbands are werewolves, and if they find out by accident, their husband has to kill them. So basically, they're an organization of murderers and kidnappers. And now, let me list off the reasons why this is such a stupid plot device. Okay, first of all, as if it wouldn't be simpler just to discredit anyone that saw them. You know, somebody goes around saying, I saw a werewolf, and turns up dead with his throat ripped out the next day. You know, nice work. Nice work there. You really covered up the secret there. Second off, as if this wouldn't eventually result sometime, someplace, in some vengeful, bitten person destroying them all. You know, think about it. You know, they decide, some family sees a werewolf, so the werewolves slaughter that family, and one just happens to survive. That vengeful person is going to track them, you know, is going to destroy them, because all they have to do to take their vengeance on the monsters that killed their family is to go to the nearest news station and transform into a werewolf themselves on live camera. Also, as if every single mother who had her child snatched away by the werewolves wouldn't be hunting them down. I'm sorry, if you stole my sister's babies from her, God have mercy on your soul, because your ass is hers. You'd have to be freaking stupid. I mean, think about it. You know, this werewolf tradition has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. That means every single werewolf in that clan has a distraught, angry mother wondering what happened to her baby. And how many times, you know, it only takes one of them going Sigourney Weaver on their ass for their whole world to be ripped a new one. The people that wrote this show have created a fictional society that depends on a trail of corpses and enraged, grieving, vengeful victims to continue. You know, I've watched a couple of seasons. Warning: if you do watch this on Netflix, be ready to fast forward. They like to throw in a few sex scenes every now and then, just in case we forget that these are actual, you know, flesh and blood people performing here. It's 10 minutes. You've forgotten she has boobies. Quick, look. You know. I'm watching it. I'm sucked in by it, but I'm sorry. I would the first season would have been about these despicable traditions resulting in their downfall. Straight up. And the really stupid thing is, this is obvious. This is set in Canada. And I've seen all these episodes, and they've had all these battles, you know, hand-to-hand combat and turning into wolves and chomping on each other. And I'm like, how many of these retards ever heard of a gun? They've had multiple scenarios where one, you know, they're basically a mafia. They're a mob. They're a mobbed-up family, basically. And they've had scene after scene after scene where one schmuck with a hunting rifle would have, you know, put finis to the whole thing. Yeah, because these werewolves, they're not bulletproof. They turn completely into wolves. They don't turn into werewolf people, which is where they turn into the, you know, the bipedal, you know, wolfman thing. And they're not bulletproof. They're not immune to, you know, they have fast healing, but they don't have like Wolverine super fast healing. You know, silver doesn't mean anything in particular to them, but none of them carry guns. One schmuck with a gun could wipe out the pack in a day. Oh no! World of Darkness actually has some, you know, they have the wolves, and you know, they have that, you know, all the World of Darkness. This is basically just a TV show. It's drama about a mob, basically a mafia family, except instead of being organized crime. They're organized people who turn into wolves. The second season, they introduce witches, who are, you know, another, yes, you know, and the witches know about the werewolves, but the werewolves didn't know about the witches, and, you know, and there's all sorts of intertangling, you know, blah, 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 blah. And, oh, they have their own thing, where they have to, you know, the witches, oh, we're good witches, we're on the right-hand path, and we, you know, we only use our magic for defense, and we're good and noble and, you know, whole grain wholesome, and, oh, we just have to drown all our male babies in the crib because there's a prophecy that one will be born who will destroy us all. Yeah. And naturally, one of them has a baby, and they fail to drown it at birth, and he grows up, and oh, he's real well adjusted from that, and he pursues, and because of what they've done to him, he pursues a goal of trying to find a way to destroy them all at one go with a single curse. I'm like, these witches are supposed to be so smart. These retards, have any of them ever read a book? Do the words self-fulfilling prophecy mean anything to them? Now, what it is that hundreds of years ago, the witches cast a curse that turned a man into a wolf. He became the first werewolf. And apparently the backlash from this, the magical backlash from this, put a curse on them, too. That if they ever had a male witch, you know, if they ever had a male child who grew up, he would come into his power and he would destroy them all. That's all we know about, you know, we haven't heard the actual wording of the prophecy, of course. And so ever since then, they've been getting abortions and drowning their male children at birth, that kind of thing. Just wonderful, wholesome, you know, peaceful, you know, peaceful witches, you know. And, yeah. I'm yet to see most of these supernatural dramas. They've been, I ended up watching them just to see where they were going next, but they're all a disappointment thus far. The protagonists, the people who are supposedly heroes, commit just murderous crimes all the time and just behave in a terrible. And nobody questions it. Nobody stops and says, "Why are we letting this happen?" No uncertainty at all. Oh, well, this is just the way it is. Oh, you found out we're a werewolf. Kiss your throat goodbye. Oh, we just had a baby. Oh, it's a boy. Blub, 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 blub. No, you know, and nobody in you know, just a general acceptance of, oh well, this is how it is. You know. I damage my own authority to speak on the matter by the fact that I watched so much of the darn show. Sort of morbid fashion. I gotta know what happens next. It's like what, you know, watching a traffic accident. You know, you can't turn away. You know it's wrong to look, but you just gotta know what happens. could make a better show. This is what inspired me to write. Well, Twilight inspired me to write the Sanguine Chronicles. There's still the issues. There's no, even when the monsters have to kill just to stay alive, there's no real drama about that. There's no internal conflict, no attempt to resist that drive. Excuse me. A little sleepy, a little tired, a little choked up. Yeah. Congested. Now, the original purposes of these quote-unquote supernatural shows that mythical creatures are alive and well makes for interesting, but it becomes an excuse to slather it with occult references and to unload the sex and gore as fast as they can. And the supposed heroes of the story become morally ambiguous monsters at best, with little or no resistance. One of the things that gets me is that so many of these shows, so many of these movies and shows and such, they have some guy gets bitten by a vampire or a werewolf, and he goes to join the clan. And he becomes a member of their vampire, werewolf, or whatever family, and blah 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 blah. Doesn't even think about it. I'm sorry, that's like deciding to join the family reunion of your rapist. Here's a guy who tried to kill you and eat you. And you survived by sheer dumb luck. And this hoser is coming up to you, hey, come on back home with me, meet the family. Not without a machine gun loaded with silver bullets. No, thank you. Any victim of a werewolf or vampire attack, their first, short of being mindless pawns and brainwashed, they are going to be vengeful. They are going to be vengeance-driven against the monsters that ruined their lives. Anything else is just not in the works. Sorry, not gonna happen. This is why Marco is saying he hates vampires and werewolves. He's never met one personally up until the time of this story, but he knows they're out there, and it makes him want to. He sees these romanticized versions of the monsters that mutated him and killed his mother, and basically made him a refugee in his in a foreign land, because you got to figure that a family with a lot of gypsies in it is going to be along the lines of, well, he's bitten by a werewolf, bitten by a vampire, better chop his head off to be sure. And you figure he's an outcast among his own kind, among his own family, because of what these vampires and werewolves did to him. He'll hate their steaming guts. And he will despise anybody who plays at being a vampire or a werewolf, because the average person is better than that. You get one of these little hot topic retards who Ooh, I'm gonna be a vampire. Ooh, I'm gonna be a werewolf. Ooh, I'm gonna be a creature of the night. And their disillusionment and disappointment at the reality would most likely be epic. It's always a grinder these days, I guess. WordPress database update. Okay, done. Okay, zippity-doo-dah. Okay. New post. Media. Upload files. Okay, the newest page is up. It is a page of, it's a tally-ho comic strip, just a quick little brief one-framer. There's some sort of glitch with the tally-ho archive. Let's see here. There we go. Oh my, I'm tired. Always tired. I'm gonna poke around and see what they have to say in the forums. I posted a copy of the latest story on fanfiction.net. I'm gonna be moving copies of my finished stories to fanfiction.net, posting them there as well, because fanfiction.net is terribly organized. It's the website is really not very efficient. It's not easy to use, but you don't get as much of this drama. I'm getting a lot of people who are saying, yeah, this is a load of shenanigans here. So Well, the interesting thing is that Gapjaxi, I don't even know if that's correctly pronounced, but he spells it Gapjaxi. He considers the story legitimate parody, and he said so. So even the guy that they're saying I'm plagiarizing is saying that my story is not plagiarism. I thought, okay, I'll be honest, I thought that Gapjaxi had thrown a fit and somebody was pulling a best friend thing on it. I owe him an apology. He earns points. Okay, he gets a mea culpa from me, and he earns some serious points here. As he said he was approached by the admins and he informed them that he considered the story legitimate parody. So it wasn't him that started this shenanigans. Now the question remains, who is it that has their panties in a wad over me? Okay, it is very difficult to speak the English language. It is 8:21. We have 5 people watching. My goal is to someday hit 10 all at one go. And, nobody has said anything for, 20 minutes. Please, would you please say something? Everybody say something. Say hi-de-ho. You say hi there, I say hi there, you say ho, hi. Ain't nobody typing nothing. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, diddly-dee, here they are, all standing in a row. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. So basically, it's not the author of the original story that has a problem. In fact, he has told them that he considers it legitimate parody. But somebody in the mod staff has their panties in a wad and sees an opportunity to make my life hard. You know, just to hassle me. The crap you put up with. Closer, tiny dancer. That story is never updating. It's Stormers. Oh, here's one. 10 o'clock news, breaking news tracker. Car smashes into North Park Auto Parts Store. Driver was coming in for brake fluid. Stopped just a little bit too late. Yep. You know, people used to raise wild animals as pets all the time. Then we got all nature Nazi up in this place with the environmentalists and crap. I mean, it was perfectly common. People raise a pet raccoon or whatever, or a baby deer, things like that. No, we gotta have Nanny State come in and tell us. you realize that this is the exact opposite approach, to what we should be doing to preserve nature. Now look, the wrongest step you can possibly take to saving an endangered species is making it an inconvenience for people. You go out there and confiscate people's land for nature preserves for this animal, or you muck around with the water tables because of some poor little fishy, or you criminalize hunting or farming an animal. That thing is nothing but a cancer. That animal becomes nothing but a pest. You remember that lion thing? You know what was his what was it like, Lyle the lion or whatever the hell they called it? Oh, by the way, the guy that killed that lion, he had a legitimate license. The lion in question was an old fart that was wandering around with no pride of its own. And it was a danger because it was an old lion. Old lions are more likely to become man-eaters. Everything was in order. Everything was in order. But these environmental a-holes, they came out and they've tormented this poor man, this poor innocent man, who did absolutely nothing wrong. Now here's the kicker. Okay, you want to know what the difference is between these countries in Africa? One country, Kenya, their animal populations are dying out. The elephants and the lions and everything else in Kenya is dying out. They have no hunting there. They are spending millions of dollars posting armed guards to protect their rhinos. Meanwhile, in a neighboring country, one right across the border in another country, they have hunting licenses. And it is a huge income source for them. And their animal populations are thriving. Booming. Why? Because because a good chunk of the money that goes into these licensed hunts goes into preservation efforts. They're also thinning out some of the herds of the older and more trouble-causing members of the herds and of the prides. One of the problems they have is that these old elephants, they'll go around, they'll attack younger elephants, keeping them from, the old bull elephant can't do the job, but he chases off all the males that can. And basically he just raises a ruckus. The older ones, they kill the younger ones. It's just a complex number of things that problems it's caused this way. And their hunting, their licensed hunting, has resulted in a financial boom in their country, and has resulted in a thriving nature bomb because the animals are a source of profit for the people there. The people there will watch out for them because, hey, this is our future. This is our income. This is this is our money train. This is our golden goose. They don't have to worry about poachers because they get the animal hides and everything else. They get the hides, they get the horn, and they sell it legitimately, and they make a fortune that way. environmentalists are doing everything environmentalists do. You could almost assume that their organization was being run by people who hated animals and wanted them wiped out. Because they turn nature into man's enemy. They make these endangered animals a threat. They make them a pest. They make them a problem. They make them a threat to people's livelihoods. They come in there and they've got all these laws where they can force people off their own land if an endangered animal is found on them. You know what that's resulted in? The 3 S's: shoot, shovel, and shut up. Because because having these endangered animals on their property means they lose everything. Now, if they were paid, for having, oh, it looks like you have the northern warbling fart bird, Here's a grant from the government to keep this little area over here as a preserve for these animals. Make a nice wad of cash. They might have something there, but no, they don't do that. They penalize the people that owns land. It's a land grab. The reason for it is that it's a land grab. You see, what they do is they come in, they find signs of an endangered animal, slap all these restrictions on the landowners so that they can't do anything with the land, raise their taxes, lower the value of the property so they can't sell it. It's a white elephant. Nobody wants to buy land with endangered animals on it because this exact thing. And then they come back and they offer these people, after they've been ruined with all the fines and fees and bills and the expectation that they'll build little fart beetle houses for these pestiferous animals, that they come back and these organizations, the environmental, they offer them pennies on the dollar for their land. It's theft. It's fraud. It's criminal. And the fact that these people aren't struck by lightning every time they stick their nose outdoors sorely tests my faith in God's justice. They don't like animals. They don't love animals. They hate human beings. I wanted to tear my hair out. You remember the episode with the bats? The vampire fruit bats on My Little Pony. I'm like, this is like the poster example. This is like the poster child example of everything wrong with the environmentalist approach. And I mean, they had to bend logic backwards to make Fluttershy come out to be the one in the right this time. Because, Applejack finds out that these animals are invading her land. They're destroying her orchards. And she begs her friends to help drive them off. She doesn't even try to kill them. She just tries to get them off the land. And Flutter says, "Oh, no, you can't do that." And the best thing she can come up with is that the seeds the animals spit all over the place will grow into much hardier trees later on, which they will eat too. So, fat lot of it. She basically arm-twisted Applejack into turning an entire orchard into a breeding ground for pests. I mean, that's like insisting that people who live in the city don't get this. They think that they think that apples magically appear on the grocery store shelves every morning. They think milk comes in jugs and eggs come in cartons. Where does milk come from? The dairy store. No clue. They have no connection to the land. They have no understanding of where the food they eat comes from or what sacrifices it takes to make it. Less than 10% of our population is farmers. Which is great on one side, but on the other side it means that the majority of people do not understand that the life and death fate of our country's food supply depends on these farmers, and that it takes so little to ruin a crop and destroy a farm. They don't understand it. Asking these people, why don't you make, this stupid scenario where Fluttershy has Applejack make a preserve on her own. Applejack gains nothing. She gains absolutely nothing. She loses a portion of her land to these pests, and gets nothing in return. And all it means is that next year there's going to be twice as many. At the least, there's going to be twice as many of these vampire fruit bats on the property, at least, and probably more, because she's made a breeding ground for them. She's going to lose this orchard. She's going to lose 2 more orchards the next year. But what does Fluttershy care? The cute, cuddly little Betty Whiteys get their fruit. The element of kindness needs a revamp sometimes. Some of these authors, she's supposed to be kind to everyone, especially her friends. She's supposed to care about her friends. But they have, they flanderized her to where she won't step up and deliver unless a bug is in danger. July 14th, a blog about a story idea. Let me check. I'd have to check here. Said July 14th. July 14th, story idea, use it if you want. Okay, let's see. '19th comment under Lover Stories. Can't search. I've seen variations of the idea, you know, the too perfect judge. You know, that nobody can meet its standards. That's one of the old tropes. You know, the hero has to face some sort of terrible judge with ridiculously high standards, and they succeed anyway. The end. Hooray, hooray. Doesn't exactly, doesn't exactly thrill me. It's possible to have a higher standard without having a ridiculously high one. You don't have to go to extremes to make the point, is the thing. Now, the original story idea is here for... is basically in that, once upon a time in the magical land of Equestria, Princess Celestia wasn't freaking stupid. The moment she realized after banishing her sister that she could no longer use the elements, she immediately sought new bearers for the elements. Because she knew, it would be really, really, really stupid to just drop these 6 most valuable pieces of her national defense and abandon them out in a empty castle in the middle of a forest. And that it became, the idea is that she finds new bearers instantly. She goes out and she starts looking, finds some recruits, and the elements bond with them. And it becomes for the next 1,000 years, it becomes a tradition. The bearers of the elements. That they're a legacy that's been handed down from bearer to bearer. Every colt and filly in Equestria dreams of growing up to be on the team who bear the elements in Equestria's defense. Whenever a bearer is ready to step down, they basically have a sword in the stone type challenge where new candidates come in and are given a chance to enter the Hall of Harmony and try and claim the element that has been set aside. And of course, you get a lot of traditions that spring up with this, like schools all teaching kids about what it means to be a bearer and how to be a better bearer. Basically, they do with the elements of harmony what Cheerily has done with cutie marks. And at the time of Nightmare Moon's return, the main six. Arrive at the castle. All the bearers have stepped down. The stones have been put in the Hall of Harmony, and the main 6 from all different walks of life happen to walk into the Hall of Harmony at the same time and become the 6 new bearers of the elements. The thing of it is that due to the high standards that have been built up over the past 1,000 years, schools and training and entire academic courses dedicated to learning to be a bearer and the whole 9 yards, the main 6 are viewed in general as being they're viewed by the populace in general and by most people around them, by most ponies around them, as being a sorry second choice. They're viewed as second stringers. Despite the fact that the elements pick them, they are looked down on by Equestria at large, especially Canterlot, as being second-rate amateurs at best. The same way you'd feel if instead of picking a dream team for the Olympics, you know, for the Olympic basketball team, instead of picking like Shaquille O'Neal and all the others, they go out and pick a bunch of amateurs. I may write this story myself. The idea is the previous bearers were Shining Armor, who carried loyalty and honesty, Princess Cadence, who carried kindness and friendship, and Daring Do, who carried generosity and laughter. They all quit at the same time, and the main six walk in and pick them up. And because due to circumstances, they look like rank, untrained, undeserved what they've been given. They were all there coincidentally. They weren't even really looking to apply, for the most part. Rainbow Dash is considered a braggart and considered lazy and unreliable. Nobody finds Pinkie Pie's antics and pranks funny. She drives her bosses practically to tears with her irresponsibility. Rarity has a streak of ambition and avarice a mile wide. Fluttershy is cowardly and needy and seems to use and manipulate people by acting sweet. But if she's pushed too hard, she can be as cruel as a lemon juice in a paper cut. And Twilight, who ends up with the element of friendship, she's the element of magic, which is friendship. She is incredibly magically talented, but she has absolutely no clue about making friends. She makes friends about as readily as a porcupine makes balloon sculptures. No, they're not really any different, actually. They're not actually any different that much from their canon counterparts, personality-wise. It's just that, thanks to the examples set by the legacy of the element bearers, everyone's standards about what makes a good element of harmony is a lot more demanding. So they spent their lives thinking that they're not good enough. Okay, I'll be right back. Gotta run to the restroom. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Yeah. I know it needs an update, but like I said, I do these stories for fun. Helps sparks my creativity, helps unwind me. I do it for fun. If it starts becoming a job, time to stop. I already got a job. I'm having enough trouble doing that. So, all right. Just working on, just I'm not really getting any inspiration hits at the moment on that particular story. So, there you have it. Excuse me, sorry. Beg your pardon. Big yawn. Okay. Let's think. Let's talk, let's discuss, let's debate, let's review the events of the day, and... No, I'm afraid I don't listen to Rush Limbaugh during the day. I don't. Just really can't tune in the radio channel very well. And I'm not really sure how to pick up his radio program on the internet. What was the news on what was shaking on Rush Limbaugh today? What was the big dealio? Anything big, anything groundbreaking, anything new? So what did El Rushbo have to say? Spit it out, man. Spit it out. The papal visit. Look, I'm not Catholic. I could not begin to care less about the Pope. And in fact, this particular Pope doesn't seem to care too much even for his own church's doctrines. So color me unenthused and unimpressed even at the least. I don't care. I really don't. And I'm annoyed that everybody expects me to. But he's the Pope! And he's a leader of what I regard biblically as a heretical sect. Catholic Church diverged from the clear teachings of the Scriptures thousands of years ago, and they have managed to accumulate huge numbers of people, just as Christ foresaw that someday the church would grow, and all sorts of buzzards and carrion crows would come to roost in its branches. They've never been a Bible-believing sect. From day one, the very first day they said that a pope's proclamations held higher regard than the actual straightforward teachings of the Bible. It was obvious. Nobody wants to believe that. They've got the advantage of lots of press, but they are not of the church of the Bible. No. And I'm really, really tired of everybody assuming that Christian equals Catholic, when neither the twain shall meet. I get so sick of people when I was working at Big Lots. People be asking me, "Ooh, what are you giving up for Lent?" The Pope. What are you giving up for Lent? Catholicism. Church of the Bible that teaches that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, that salvation is by grace, one time and for all. Baptism of believers only. Autonomy of the local church. Perseverance of the saints. That means that once you are saved, you are adopted into the family of God. You do not work to gain your salvation. You do not work to keep your salvation. Baptism is meant to be a sign of your obedience, and it is not a sacrament. We do not have a priest. We do not have a pope. There is one mediator between man and God, and that man, Christ Jesus. We are to call no man Father. We have one Heavenly Father. Any church that goes by the New Testament scriptural distinctives is a part of the body of Christ. The Catholic Church does not, and never has. I'm not going to get into a long, tired discussion about it. And I could care less that the Pope is visiting. Even if I was Catholic, I couldn't care less, because the guy doesn't even stick to the Catholic distinctives. So what's the point? They threw out, they don't even, they threw out their own dogma for PR purposes. He's become nothing but the head of the world's largest social club. With teachings about as stable as a weather vane in a whirlwind. He doesn't even believe in the record of creation. What is it? He doesn't even believe. He's rejected an entire book of the Bible as being a lie. He believes. He believes the theories of 21st century atheists before he believes the Word of God in his own Bible. That's no spiritual leader. He's a spiritual Me Too follower. And he puts on a charismatic, huggy face personality that wins him a lot of PR points, but he's not any kind of spiritual leader. Never has a man's role in his own religion been more meaningless. I used to respect Catholics because they were adamant about what they believed. Now that seems to last less time than it takes for them to pick a new pope. And I've heard that they are lining a bunch of Catholics up there who believe what are things that were once considered heretical by Catholic standards. A gay priest, a pro-abortionist nun, what else? Who cares? Oh, rightly, King, according to the Bible, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. If thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Those who have accepted Christ are admonished to keep his commandments. In the same sense, those who keep the commandments of God, as you're phrasing it, let's put it this way, it's in the same sense that a mother chastising a child says, you are a member of this family and we do not behave that way. That doesn't mean that if the child misbehaves, he's no longer a member of the family. Salvation is by grace. It is a spirit of adoption. It's not a job application. If you could lose your salvation, you would have already lost it. You can't be good enough to keep it. You can't be good enough to gain it. You can't be good enough to keep it. And it is blasphemous arrogance to suggest that you could. And yet the Bible says that we know that we are saved. It's not our own virtue that places us on the rolls to be called up yonder. I'm not going to argue with you, Riley King, because I do not have time to talk, to waste on somebody who's going to talk and never listen. You want to get to heaven and show Jesus all the gold stars you won, and tell him that you deserve to be there. That's why you're sticking to your arguments. You're not supported by Scripture. And I don't have time in my life to drag you to the river and try and make you drink. There will be people that come up before the throne of God and say, "Oh, look at all these works I've done," and he will look at them, "Depart from me, ye cursed, I never knew you." We don't get saved because we keep a list of rules or commandments. We get saved because we accept his gift of salvation, and we cannot save or keep ourselves. And we accept him as our Savior. Anything else is self-righteousness. We know where that ends. This is the only gospel that we are given. For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but shall have everlasting life. We have all sinned and come short of the glory of God. By one man's sin entered the world, and death by sin. So for all have sinned. But God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. If thou shalt confess confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Believe, and ye shall be saved. Call upon the name again and again and again and again and again. It's repeated. It's not believe and keep a lot of works. Believe and go to church. Believe in this, believe in that. Believe, accept. All the church services and communions and confessionals and rosary beads and good deeds and sacraments and sacrifices and everything else that you come up with mean nothing. Because the Bible flat out said that our righteousness is as filthy rags. When he was talking filthy rags, he was talking about the rags that lepers used to wipe off their sores. It's not by our own goodness or virtue or by our own perseverance or obedience that we are going to get to heaven. It's only by accepting Christ's merciful redemption and salvation. As the sun was lifted up, the same as this brass serpent was lifted up in the desert. That's how Christ was lifted up on the cross. And there was only one thing required. Look and live. Turn, look, and live. Turn to Jesus and live. First two steps are admitting that I need to be saved and I cannot save myself. And the third is saying, Jesus, you can save me. I wish to be saved. We strive to keep God's commandments because we are saved. Not in order to be saved, not in order to keep saved. Our works that we do in this world are for service to Him, the blood of Christ. They do not save us. Jesus saves us. It's all too human nature to want to lean on our own righteousness, on our own efforts. To think that we're going to walk up to the gates of heaven and demand entry as our right. Because we've been such good, loyal, faithful, pious people. No, we're not. Sinners. Completely, utterly guilty. We've been redeemed. Our cost, our price of our sin has been paid by Christ. He bought us, literally. The same way you'd buy a slave condemned to death and freed them. All he asked is that we believe, turn to him, and accept it. Turn to Jesus and live. It is 9:30, according to this. 9:26. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Y'all take care of yourselves. Say a prayer, because God knows we need them. Y'all take care of yourselves.